So you're having trouble with your shooting, either with getting power on the ball, good connection, or accuracy. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 5 mistakes soccer players make while shooting so that you can see if you're making any of these mistakes and then fix them so that you can start shooting more accurately, properly, and powerfully. What's up guys, it's Dave here from SimplySoccer, where we're helping you to improve your game and stand out on the pitch. And on this channel we release daily soccer tip, technique, and training videos. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any new videos that we release or live streams that we do. So in this video, I'm just going to be going over 5 common mistakes I see soccer players making while they're shooting. This is so that you can identify the mistakes in your own shooting and correct them. I will also be providing you videos on what proper technique looks like down in the description. So if you need help on your technique, if you need help on improving your accuracy or your power on your shots after you're done watching this video, check out those videos in the description. Okay, and so the first mistake I see players making when shooting is called having a floppy ankle. This is one of the more common mistakes because it does take a bit of practice in order to correct this. But if you do not have a locked ankle when you're trying to shoot, especially when you're trying to shoot with a shot that you're intending to have power, or you're trying to rip one on target, if you have a floppy ankle, an ankle that's moving all over the place, that isn't pointed down and locked in place, you're most likely not going to get any power in the shot. In the video I have linked in the description on how to shoot a soccer ball with power and accuracy from far, we go over what a proper locked ankle looks like, and we also go over how to practice this. I'll also have a bar come across the screen so that you can go and watch that video in order to learn the proper technique for this, but just recognize that this is incredibly important and you can't hope to shoot properly if you have a floppy ankle or an ankle that's not locked while shooting. Another very common mistake among players when they're shooting, they're new to shooting, or they haven't been shooting well for a while, is their body position. And the biggest one I see is that they're leaning back. If you lean back, you're encouraged to hit the ball more on the bottom, which is going to make it go high over the bar. The more on the bottom of the ball you hit it, the higher it's going to go, and the more on top of the ball you hit it, the lower it's going to stay, although you don't want to hit it too far on top or it's just going to bobble. But the biggest mistake I see is players leaning back. And if you lean back, you can almost guarantee, unless you have a little bit of luck about you, that it's going to go over the bar. You want to be leaning over the ball. You want to have a tense core while you're doing it, but if you're leaning back or you're not at least upright, you're most likely going to hit it over the bar. So make sure you're identifying or analyzing your shots and make sure this isn't the mistake that you're making, because this one's actually a very easy one to fix. Just remember to consciously lean over the ball instead of leaning back. And number 3, another very, very common problem, but again, one that actually isn't that hard to fix, is players trying to swing way too hard. You see, the idea is that the harder you swing, the more power you'll generate when you hit the ball. But this isn't necessarily true. Your power does not come from how fast you swing your foot. The power is going to come from how sweetly you hit the ball, how good your contact is. Essentially, what I mean is, how good is your technique? If you hit the ball with proper technique, you're hitting everything correctly, you're doing everything correctly, you're gonna get the power that you're looking for. But if you swing wildly at the ball, it makes it much more likely that you're going to use improper technique, which means it's probably gonna go nowhere near where you want it to go. Remember, a football is not that heavy. It doesn't take much power for it to go flying. If you can hit towards the middle of the ball, lock your ankle like we discussed earlier, have your body position well in the right place, on all the other things you need with proper technique, you don't need to swing hard. You can swing pretty moderately at a moderate pace and still get a ton of power on the ball. So when analyzing your shots, ask yourself, am I trying to hit it too hard? Am I swinging too fast? And just slow it down a bit. I'm not telling you to go super slow. I'm just telling you to maybe slow it down a little bit and focus a lot more on your contact than trying to hit the crap out of the ball. Fourth mistake I see is using the wrong part of your foot. You see, there are different areas on the foot that are ideal for certain types of shots. And when it comes comes to trying to get power and accuracy on the ball, there are certain parts of the foot you should be trying to use. Now, again, in that video I mentioned earlier, I go over this and give you a diagram of exactly where on your foot you should be striking the ball, so definitely go check that out. To give you a little hint and a little preview, it's the big bone on your foot. The higher up on your foot you go, the more dense it is and more hard your foot is, and that's ideally where you want to be hitting the ball. If you're using your toes to do it, if you're using the outside of your foot or the inside of your foot to generate power, if you're doing things like this, then it's not really going to work out for you. But if you're using your laces or the big bone of your foot, then you're going to start seeing that you can generate more power if you're doing everything else right as well. So definitely go check out that video when you get the chance after this one, as it will show you exactly where on your foot to be hitting the ball. And the fifth thing I see players kind of doing wrong or not doing in a way that will help them improve that much is practicing impractically. Now, this is not necessarily something you're doing when you're shooting. Like, it has nothing to do with technique. It has everything to do with the way you're practicing your technique. I see a lot of players making one of two mistakes when they go to practice their shooting, or I see other players at the field practicing their shooting. One, they'll have a bunch of balls and they'll be shooting on net, but there's no purpose to it. They have no goal. They have no aim. They're just kind of mindlessly shooting on net. While you're shooting, you want to have an idea of what you're trying to do. You want to know, am I working on my technique right now? Am I trying to make sure I'm locking my ankle? What am I working on? What is my goal from this session? If you go in without one and you just shoot mindlessly on net, you're not going to get much out of it. But if you practice deliberately, you're going to start seeing results, because you'll be thinking, okay, I'm working on my technique. You'll take a shot and then you'll be like, I forgot to lock my ankle there. I better fix that. Well, if you're mindlessly just shooting on net, you're just so casually doing it that you're not really recognizing your mistakes. You're not recognizing when you're taking a really good shot, or at least you're not recognizing what you did when you took a good shot. So make sure when you are shooting that you're very conscious, you're very mindful, and you have a goal in mind of what you're trying to do. The second thing I see is players will just, with a ball or two, go onto net and start shooting on net. A much more effective and practical way is to shoot against a wall. And I've mentioned this before, but there's a good reason, actually many good reasons, why shooting against a wall is much better than shooting against a net. First thing is you only need one ball. If you only have one ball, this works out perfectly for you. You don't need 10 in order to shoot against the wall, because the ball is going to come back to you every single time. Next, you get so many more repetitions in. When it comes to your shooting, the way you're going to get better is practicing good technique and repetitions. The more repetitions you have of practicing the proper technique, the better you're going to get. And just as a test, practice for 5 minutes against a net and then practice for 5 minutes against a wall. Which one allowed you to get more repetitions? I'm going to tell you the answer: the wall. You can just keep shooting over and over and over and over again, because the ball is just going to come right back to you. Third reason why you want to shoot against a wall instead of a net is because it's multifaceted. When you shoot against a net, you just shoot, you either score, you miss, you get the ball, you come back. You shoot, you score or miss, you come back, right? With a wall, the ball bounces back to you, meaning you have to control it when it comes back to you. You have to take a good first touch. You're practicing on more than just your shooting, even if you don't realize it, because of the nature of the drill. When you shoot it against the wall, you're not going to catch it when it comes back. I mean, you could, but I suggest that you don't. Control it. Bring the ball down and shoot again. Control it, bring the ball down and shoot again. You're not only working on your shooting at this point, you're also working on your ball control and first touch a little bit as well. And finally, another great reason to be shooting against a wall is there's usually more walls than there are nets. There are a lot of players who either don't have a field near them, or even if they do, the nets aren't out, or the goals aren't out, or the goals don't have nets. Like me, for example, there's a field literally a minute from me, but there are no goals. There are no goals, but guess what there is? There's a wall. And I use that wall all the time because it's just better. One of the ways I became really good at shooting when I was younger wasn't shooting on net, wasn't, taking some crazy, shooting class, or, no one told me a secret to shooting. I just worked on my technique against a wall over and over again behind my house. That's it. And it improved my shooting significantly because of the amount of reps I was getting, because of the time it saved, and it improved my ball control and touch as well because I was getting that in as well. All right, guys, so those were 5 mistakes I see soccer players making while shooting. So what you want to do is analyze your own shots and see which of these mistakes are you making. Now, there are other mistakes you could be making, but these are the main ones to me. And if you're making them, then just work on fixing them. The first thing when it comes to improving yourself or improving any area is first identifying the mistakes and then working towards correcting them or getting better at them. And again, if you want to see what proper technique looks like, just take a look at some of the videos I've linked in the description, as they'll take you to other shooting videos that give you more demonstrations, show you what proper technique looks like, and all that fun stuff. Alright guys, so question of the day is, out of all the things I went over in this video, which mistake are you making the most? Let me know down in the comments so that everyone else can see it and give you some advice, and I can give you some advice as well. But also write it down so that you're aware of what mistake you make the most so you can work towards fixing it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Please share this video because the more shares it gets, the more it spreads around, the more players it can potentially help. Make sure you like the video, and if you're new to Simply Soccer, consider subscribing. We release videos almost every day, usually every day actually, so you don't want to miss out on any of that. I will have 2 new videos come across the screen now. We will have a new video out tomorrow at 5 p.m. And remember, this is Simply Soccer. We're helping you to improve your game and helping you to stand out on the pitch. Thanks guys once again, and I'll see you in the next video.